I'm not sure we're going to finish it today, but we'll certainly get deep into it. You recall, last week, the Plishtim have assembled a massive army in Michmash. I sent a picture. Yes, I sent a picture to the WhatsApp group, the Navi Shmuel. The first picture, you can see I don't know how this works here. That the pass, Michmash was like a pass between two mountains. And it was to the north of Givat Binyamin and to the south of Beit El. And Givon was to the west. And that's that picture which shows you where the pass of Michmash was. And if you want to see the next picture, in terms of where this region was, it relates to Eretz Yisrael. So you can see Givat Shaul, Ofra, Beit El. Remember we said Beit El is a little bit to the north of Michmash and Givon was to the west of it. So it's about a little bit north of Yerushalayim in the picture of Eretz Yisrael that I sent below Ofra. So that, because somebody asked me last week where the battle took place. This is in the area of Binyamin's territory.
I went on Google Maps, and there's actually in Wikipedia there's they have an explanation of it's called Givat Michmash, or no, Ma'alei Michmash, and it's actually overseas Michmash, which is still called that in Arabic, pretty much Mukmas.
Mukmas. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they actually derived the name from the Torah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Perek Yud Daled, Vayi Hayom, Vayomer Yonatan ben Shaul. Now, if you notice, we've never been introduced to Yonatan ben Shaul. Later in this Perek, at the end, it's going to give us the progeny of Shaul. So sort of abruptly, we're introduced to Yonatan ben Shaul, Elanar Nosei Kelav. So in the time of antiquity, warriors had people who bore their arms. He would hold maybe a shield. He would hold his weapons. Steinsaltz says the servant did not just fill a technical role. These people had a close relationship with the warrior. So this person probably had a close relationship with Yonatan. And this phenomenon where the main warrior had an assistant, who was also his confidant, existed in other cultures. The assistant functioned as a shadow, so to speak, of the warrior. Often he was extremely devoted to him and earned the warrior's complete trust. So this is the Nar, who is his Nosei Kelav. And what does Yonatan say? Lecha, let's go. V'na'abral matzav plishtim. Let's go check out the battle location of, the plishtim. Remember last week, they had sent out a number of groups that were going to be attacking groups. And Yonatan, it seems to be suggesting that he wants to evaluate the military location of the plishtim. Asher me'ever Allah, that they are across from us. Ula aviv lo higid. And he didn't tell his father what he's about to do. This is the beginning of a miracle, of a miraculous victory that occurs because of Yonatan. And we have a number of questions, though, that arise already. First of all, it seems like Yonatan is doing this on his own. He has not been told by Shaul to do anything. And he seems to be doing this on his own initiative. So the Yehayam asks, Yesh lavin lama asa Yonatan ma'isa kazeh Lilachem ba'atzmo ba'plishtim. Yonatan is going to now, as we're going to see in the Psukim, attack a group of Plishtim and kill at least 20 of them by himself. And this is going to begin a panic within the Plishtim army. They're going to run away. Yonatan by himself. So first the question is, why did Yonatan do such an outlandish thing? Well, look at Posuk Beis. Shaul Yoshev b'ktzei Giva. Shaul remains in Giva. Tachat harimon asher b'Migron. Migron is a city. V'ha'am asher imo k'sheish mot ish. And remember, Shaul had 600 soldiers with him, and he still has 600 soldiers with him.
And it's even stronger than that. It's not just he didn't ask Shaul permission. He didn't ask the Navi or the Kohen Gadol permission or consult with the Urim V'Tumim before he proceeded, right? So there was no guidance from God.
No, well, let's evaluate that. So first they ask, he went out, why did he do such a ma'aseh? And therefore, v'lismoch al nes nigle. Obviously, he's relying on some kind of miraculous assistance by Hashem. Now, you're not supposed to rely, ein somchin al hanes. So why is Yonatan putting himself in this situation? The gam lama lo sha'al et aviv kodem, and maybe it's efshar davizeh kemora halacha b'fnei hamelech. We know there's a din. If somebody does paskins halacha in front of the king can put him to death. So, yesh mefarshim. This is the Chomas Anach, one of the mefarshim of Navi. Lefisha yadu ba'ad sara hahi bakoton etziv plishtim. If you remember last week, Yonatan assassinated one of the Plishtim governors, and that led to the Plishtim getting angry and assembling the army. So lekach masaratzmo v'sam nafsho b'chapo. So he was moiser nefesh because he said, "Listen, I created this whole problem." The yiftach b'shem Hashem, vayhi imo vayoshashem vayamut Yisrael. That Yonatan was a person who had a lot of bitachon, as we'll see soon where he got that from. Then one of the meforshim, the Dasa Soifrim, Oimrim, the Af lo natan Hashem liyonatan nevuah mefureshes. Like Bernie wanted, Yonatan did not receive a special prophecy from Hashem. Nikol malkom b'mashen asan machshavos elu b'rosho. But who put these ideas in Yonatan's head? It's Hashem. Havi ke'ei nevuah. Shehi ke'esh bo eres b'navi. Like a fire that's burning in him, like Yirmiyah had a fire burning in him when he said some of his nevuahs. She'ena yachol la'atzor et nevuato. Sometimes the nevuah sort of comes and you can't even stop it. V'kach lo gila Yonatan la'aviv et machshavto. That's why, according to Das Soifrin, that he didn't reveal what he's going to do to Shaul. Leficha chutzrich l'kaimam kedei shlo yeh koivesh nevuaso. A Navi who receives a nevuah from Hashem is not allowed to sort of subjugate the nevuah. He has to let it flow. Now, the Malbim learns Pashat Pshat. At this point, when Yonasan goes out, he doesn't have in mind to fight with them. Rak lavor la'ever sheneged matzav plishtim, to go over where their border is. He says, Ki michmash haya mitzafon legeva. As I showed you on the map, Michmash is to the north of Geva. V'shol v'Yonatan amdu b'tzad darom shal, they were to the south of Geva. V'ratzai Yonatan lavor midromo shal Geva tzad tzfono. He just wanted to see the Plishtim from the north. V'lachein la'aviv lo igi ki lo yadaito adar el ha'gvura shetor la'achar כך sham. He didn't tell his father because this is not going to be a battle plan yet. V'ratzah la'asot he just wanted to sort of map out where they are, but not necessarily to be seen by them. Now, they bring from the Emek Dover, the Netziv, the Rosh Yeshiva of the Volozhny Yeshiva before it closed in 1890. the father of
Bar Ilan.
Meir Bar Ilan. This is the Netziv Rav Berlin, who wrote the Emek Dover. He brings on the pasuk in Devarim in Zosa Bracha, Levinyamin Amar, Yedid Hashem, Yishkon Laveta Chalav. Right? Shaul is from the tribe of Binyamin. Yonatan is also of the tribe of Binyamin. And the Netziv writes, Teva Shevet Binyamin Ugduloso. The nature of Shevet Binyamin is lihitalech b'derech hachasidut v'hefkerut l'mala miderech enoshi b'bitachon. Binyamin has extra amount of bitachon in Hashem. Bin Kain, yesh lomer kan she'also ken Yonatan miderech habitachon shechashav shegiya zman sheyoshar Hashem et Yisrael miyad plishtim. Yonatan thinks that now is the time that Hashem is going to save them from plishtim. V'nahak et teva shevet Binyamin l'mala miderech hateva. Then, why here doesn't it just say Yonatan? Why does it say Yonatan ben Shaul? We know he's ben Shaul. So again, the Chomat Anach tells us he was like his father, Naki Mechet. Like we said before, ben Shana Shaul b'mocho. Last week, we said Shaul was 1 year old, ben Shana. How did we learn? Shahayik ben Shana Lechet. He was considered at that time, at least, that he was free of sin like a child. Gam Yonatan Hayakim. By calling him Ben, it's the same concept that he connects to Shaul regarding the lack of chet. The Kliyakar learns, that Yonatan was doing something dishonorable in front of his father. Elahu Yonatan ben Shaul, hamakpid al kavod aviv. He is Yonatan, the son of Shaul, who's careful with the kavod of his father. And the reason he didn't spare the father, according to Kliyakar, because it says Vahi Ayom, Shayayom Amuchan Lishiwat Yisrael. And Yonatan had to do what he did without any special pirsum, any special publicity.
Excuse me, Ernie, can you also say he's like his father Shaul, who acted impulsively without first asking the Navi or without guidance?
Oh, because
Shaul acted that way too. That's how he got into trouble in the first place too. And Yonatan ultimately will get into trouble here too.
Yeah, but I think it's. I don't
mean it in a negative way. I'm just saying that's a behavior characteristic.
Yes, you might be able to say that. But you see, because Yonatan's actions here are seen as very praiseworthy. He's not taken to task like Shaul was taken at some of the times when he did it. But it could be that this is their general nature, that they're impetuous. Okay, weiter. The Achia ben Achituv, Achi Ikavod, the brother of Ikavod ben Pinchas ben Eli, Kohen Hashem b'Shilo noseh ephod. Achituv was the carrier of the apron. Achia ben Achituv was the carrier of the apron, which had the Urim v'Tumim. V'ha'am lo yada ki halach Yonatan. And the Am didn't know that Yonatan is now breaking out onto his own thing. Says the Iyei Hayam, since Shmuel is not here yet, the Kvar halach mishaul achar shelo shalom mitzvato. Remember when Shmuel got upset that he didn't wait for him and Shmuel left. So Bike Shol Mokom Achel Shol B'Shchina Hech Linog. Well, if he doesn't have the Navi, he needs another way of asking the Shechina should he attack the Plishtim, should he not? So that's why it brings us here that Achia ben Achituv is there with the Urim v'Tumim as well. Now, if you remember, the family of Eli was cursed that they weren't going to live long and the Kohen Gadol was going to be removed from them. It's very clear that Onesh and Isnabi al Mishpachas Eli, the Klala has not started yet. Because we see his grandson, right? Eli's grandson, Achia ben Achituv, is still the Kohen Gadol. It was not Miskayim until Tzadok Kohen Gadol in the time of Shlomo. And he was not one of the sons of Eli. He was one of the sons of Elazar Kohen, who had a different Yisur, Nichus. Then, if you remember previously, Eli had two sons, Eli and Pinchas. And we learned in the Gemara, in Masechta Shabbos Nun Hey, Amar Rav Pinchas lo chata, that even though he had two sons, Chofni and Pinchas, Chofni was the main problem person, not Pinchas. Where do we know that from? From the pasuk we just learned. Shenemar v'achia ben Achituv achi I kavod ben Pinchas ben Eli Kohen. Efsher chet bal yadav v'akosu miyachso. Could it be possible that the Tanakh would list the name of Pinchas, the son of Eli, in this distinguished lineage, if a sin had been done by his hand? Can't be. Yikaris Hashem liisha sheyasena erva na ba'ola Yaakov umegish mincha Hashem tzvakos. Right? He should have been wiped out already. The imkarinu lo yelo ben megish mincha. The lav shma mino Pinchas lo chata. The Gemara says from here that he was still included. He did not sin. I freaked the Gemara. Remember over there when they told us about the sins of the sons of Eli, it says the women asher yishkavun, that lechora, that they had relations with these women. On of Bar Yitzchak, b'ni ksiv, and not bonai, one son. So mitoch shayalo lepinchas limchos lechofni v'lo micha. We learned this before. Pinchas actually did not commit the sins that his brother did, Chofni. But he didn't protest. Mala kosov ki ilu chata. So it's as if he sinned. So the Iker sin was by Chofni and not Pinchas. And the reason why Pinchas was punished as well is because he didn't protest. So very important lesson to learn here regarding that. And I think we discussed it before. Okay. We're going to go back to the Pasuk. Pasuk Daled. Ubeina Mabrot. We said Michmash was a pass between two mountains. So between this pass, Asher Bikesh Yonatan Lavora Matzav Plishtim, Yonatan was trying to investigate where the Plishtim were in relationship to this. There was a Sheina Sela Ma'ever Mizeh, Sheina Sela Mizeh. There was like a rock sticking out from one side, and a rock sticking out, V'Shema Echad Botzeitz, V'Shema Echad Sene. Each rock had a name. These were sort of teeth, very tall, so much so they were, like in Yosemite, El Capitan, right? That rock is given a name. So here as well, this is a very steep ravine, and the people gave it a name as well. Hashena Echad Matzuk Mitzafon Mul Michmash. One of these rocks was on the north opposite Michmash, and the other was to the south, V'echad Minegev Mul Geva. So it's giving us a location. Pasuk Vav. Vayomer Yonatan el anar nosei kelav. Yonatan tells his armor bearer, L'chavin abra el matzav ha'arelim ha'ele. Let us go investigate a little bit more these uncircumcised ones. The Plishtim are always referred to as Arelim.
Just as the Jews are called Ivrim.
So the question is, why is that? The Plishtim, more than other people, are referred to as Arelim. So Arelim doesn't just mean having a foreskin. There's something called the Orla Halev, that in Parshas Nitzavim Vayelech, Hashem says we're going to sort of circumcise your heart. It symbolizes sort of a separation between Kedusha and the human being. Remember, the Plishtim had seen a lot of miracles take place when the Aron was in their midst. They all got sick. And when it was sent back, the sickness stopped. But you notice they didn't learn from any of those miracles. So it's also, this refers to this division between HaKadosh Baruch Hu, between a human being and his Kedusha. Now you notice, this is the first time that Yonatan is called Yehonatan, with a hey. And from now on, he's going to be referred to as Yehonatan with a hey. And the Meforshim explained, Ki asa masha asa beruach Yonah shashar solav etzedek b'chol drachav. And from that, because he did this with a ruach of Hashem, he now has the name of Hashem. And the Orchos Tzadikim says, a human being has two types of avodot. Ha'achat, avodato, what he does. He's a doctor, he's a jeweler, he's a lawyer, he's a businessman. Vashniya avodat Torah, the work that he puts in Torah. V'tzarich adam liot memutza ben shtei avodot. He has to have a balance. He has to use his time wisely. He has to spend time doing his business, and he has to spend time doing the avodah of Torah. And you always have to make sure that these avodot are being done to benefit you and those that follow you. And one should not be done at the loss of the other. You shouldn't think that he has to have bitachon in Hashem. It's not that the work that he's doing is going to give him the parnasa. He still has to have a lot of bitachon in Hashem. Like a person who chops down a tree with an axe, even though the axe cuts the tree, the strength doesn't come from the iron. It's from the person who swings the axe. So Adam sheyesh lo malcha or eze esek sheyesh b'fanei bo bnei beso. He has some kind of profession that he's providing a parnasa for his family. He shouldn't think, lulei amlacha hi haya olech li badon. If it wasn't for this work, everybody would starve. Ach yiftach beborei yitbarach v'yachshov. You should have bitachon. And it's saying, Hashem will send him parnaso a different way. Everything that a person does is in Hashem's hands. And there's harbe shluchim lamakom. That's why it says, Lo b'chayav v'lo b'koach kim beruchi amar Shem tzvakos. That's the ruach now that is infusing Yonatan or Yehonatan with his special courage that he's showing now. Pasuk Vav. Vayomer Yonatan lanar nosei kelav. L'chaven abral matzav ha'elim ha'elu ulai yaseh Hashem lanu. Maybe Hashem will begin the miracle with us. Ki ein la Hashem matzor lo shia b'ravu b'mat. Hashem doesn't have any limit He can save with a great multitude. He could save with a small group of people. And the armor bearer gives him encouragement. Do what's in your heart. Go forth, and I'm with you, and I'm with your heart. So, Vayomer Yonatan, Hine anachnu ovrim el anashim, v'niglinu aleihem. Up until now, they have been hiding. They have not allowed the police team to see them. However, Yonatan says, let's reveal ourselves. And now, Yonatan creates like an omen. He's going to do a sign, like don't let a black cat walk in front of you, or don't walk under a ladder. Now, we're not allowed to do that. That's called lo yinachesh. But now, listen to what Yonasan says. Im koyom ru'eleinu, if they say to us, Domu adigianu aleichem, you wait there, and we will come to you. The amadnu tachtenu v'lo na'ale aleim. If that's what they say to us, that you should stay where you are, and we will come to you, that's a signal to us that we need to stay where we are, and we should not attack them. However, im koyomru, if they say, Alu aleinu v'alinu, come to us, that's a signal, ki netanam Hashem bi'adenu v'zelanu ha'od. That's a signal that we are going to be successful if we attack them. Says the Gemara in Chulin, based on this pasuk, Amar Rav, Kol nachash, she'eno keliezer eved Avram, uchi Yonatan ben Shaul, eno nachash. If you create this kind, like what the omen, remember, Eliezer Eved Avram also created, he said, well, the girl that comes and gives water to my camels, will be the right person for Yitzchak. It was also sort of an omen kind of thing. And the Gemara says these are the Nachashim that we're talking about. So the Musar Navim explains that which the Torah asred, Hada asra Torah lishtamish benachash, like it says in Vayikra Yutes and Kedoshim, lo tenachashu, zeu rakeshu soymech legamri ala nichush. It's only if he relied completely on the omen, like Kamo Eliezer Eved Avram. They relied on it. Eliezer, if the girl came and gave to drink, he knew that was the one. He relied on that. And here too, Yonatan, we're going to see, is going to rely on this. By what they said, he acted on that. Aval imhu eno somech al zeh legamri. But if a person makes some kind of statement like an omen thing, but he doesn't really rely on it completely. Elahu omer shezeu lo le'eza siman bilvad ein ze bichlal nichush. That's not a prohibited type of nichush. If he's not relying completely on it, he might rely on that and other factors. Then you're not over the law of lo senachashu. So the Rishonim asked, Echasu anachash Eliezer v'Yonatan. Well, so how did Eliezer and Yonatan get away with this? Harehem samchu al zeh v'avru b'zeh b'lav d'lo tenachashu. So the Rishonim asked, well, if you're not allowed to do it, why did Eliezer and Yonatan do it? V'tirtzu al zeh b'kesef Mishnah. The Kesef Mishnah, who was the Beis Yosef of Yosef Karo, in his commentary on the Rambam, in Perek Yud Aleph Mehilchos Avodah Zarah, shehem hayu osim siman b'dovar shehasvara notenet. They also they combined logic with it, because what was Eliezer trying to determine? Is this girl going to have chesed in her? Because the house of Avram is a house of chesed. So it wasn't just stam if she shows up and dances on a tree. It was an act that was going to reveal that she was an Isha Chasida, and that is the right person to be Meshadech with the family of Avram. That's what he means. Shem hayu asim siman b'davar shasvar notenet. Shem hibas gomelas chasodim. Shetishkelo gemalav, that she was going to give to drink to him and the camels. Hazi be'emet ru'u liyitzchak. So that it's not just an omen. It's an omen that had a svara as part of it. V'chein b'Yonatan. De'im yomru shehem yalu eleinu. If the simon, like he said, was that they should call them and say, you come to us, as vadai einen mitpachtim, must be that they're not afraid. V'nichush kazeh be'emet mutar shim yomer adam im yerdu kshamim lo eitze l'derech. If a person says, you know what, if it rains tomorrow, I'm not going to go on the road. In love eitze ein b'zeh iser. And if not, I'm going to go on the road. That's not an iser. That's using logic. When you can't use this kind of omen situation, it's when there's no logic attached to it.
Ernie, the Mayam Eloes, in addition to quoting,
And that's the Ron. By the way, the Ron brings it. Go ahead. Go ahead, Bernie.
Sorry, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. I'm just saying the Mayam Eloes offers, in addition to the reasons why it's not what Yonatan did was not considered nichush, he offers an additional explanation that by Yonatan, he mentioned it before the act happened. And so it's different from a black cat crossed your path, therefore you are interpreting as an omen. If you do it beforehand, it's not considered nichush. It's only after the fact, if you interpret something that you saw, that it's forbidden as nichush.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, back to the parak. Let me just see if there's anything else here. Tesfo, right? V'im kol yomru alu aleinu v'alinu ki netanam Hashem yadenu v'zeh lanu ha'od. Pasuk Yud Aleph. Vayigalu shnehem el matzav plishtim. So they revealed themselves, so the plishtim could see them. Vayomru plishtim, and the plishtim said to themselves, Hinei ivrim yotzim. Look at these Jews, these Hebrews, they're coming to us. Minachorim asher itchabu. Remember last week we learned in the parak that many of the Ivrim, remember the Ivrim were those that were also working for the Plishtim, and they were in their army. And some had run away and some had hidden. And now they thought that these people who are revealing themselves are some of these people who had been hiding. Pasuk Yud Beis, Vayanu anshe hamatzava et Yonatan v'nosei kelav. So they responded to Yonatan on seeing them. Vayomru alu eleinu. They said, come to us. V'nodia etchem davar, and we will inform you. Well, this was the oath, the sign that Yonatan was waiting for. So Vayomer Yonatan al nosei kelav alei acharai. You follow me. Ki nitanam Hashem b'yad Yisrael. Based on this siman, I believe Hashem is going to defeat them on behalf of Klal Yisrael. Vaya Yonatan yadav al raglav. Yonatan is on his hand, with his hands and his feet. He was a great swordsman. V'nosei kelav acharav. Vayiplu lifnei Yonatan v'nosei kelav mimotet acharav. And the Yonatan, many people fell before them because he was killing them. Yonatan would stab each of the Plishtim, and the armor bearer would finish them off. So they were like a tag team, a duo that was going through them, through the Plishtim, like a scythe goes through wheat. And Vatiyah Makari Shona Sherikay Yonatam Nosei Kolav Ke'esri Mish Kevachatzi Manat Semet Sadeh. They killed close to 20 Plishtim just by themselves. The area that 2 cows would plow in a field, which is a big area. And Rashi says, Gvura G'doyla Hizu, Shayu Kroivim Zelazeh, Nuchonim Lazar Zeh. And it gives us that the Plishtim were in this sort of narrow area, narrow field area, so they could have assisted each other, but they didn't. or they weren't able to, or Yonatan was able to defeat them nonetheless. Now, Pasuk Tezvav, Vatihi charada b'machaneh b'sadeh v'chol ha'am. Panic strikes the Plishtim. Hamatzav v'hamashchit. Those that had encamped and those that had been sent out as the sort of the ambush group, Chardu Gemhema. Vatir Gazaretz, the land shook. Vatihila Chardat Elokim, and the fear of Hashem was into them. And remember, remember when Gidon, the Shofet Gidon, he also had attacked with a small group, but he created a panic among the army that he attacked. And it's called Cherdas Elokim because the whole thing is coming from Yeshua from Hashem. Pasuk Tezayin. Well, hang on. Before we go to Pasuk Tezayin, I'm going to read a Breshis Rabbah on this Pasuk Vatir Gaza Aretz. On Rav Shmuel. B'shloisha makomis niskan so'evdei kachavim lasos melcha b'bnei Yaakov. 3 places the non-Jews came to do battle with Bnei Yisrael. V'lo hiniach lehem HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't allow it. T'chsiv. Vayisu vayichi tatel kim al erim asher esrotehem v'lo radfu achrei Bnei Yaakov. After Shimon v'Levi attacked Shechem and wiped out the city of Shechem, so they were in danger. It's a family of 70 people. If the armies of the city-states around them would gather, it was dangerous. So Hashem didn't allow that to happen. That's one place. Shenis b'mei Yonatan. Right now, Shenemar, Vatir Gaza Aretz vayi lecharat Elokim. Elokim put a fear in them that they wouldn't attack them. Shlishis b'mei Yoshua bikshu lirdof lo niach HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There also, when they battled Chatzor, Hashem held back that they shouldn't attack them. And
Don't we have that also in the Torah where Moshe tells them not to battle Amalek? Didn't they after, wasn't there one battle where they were told not to, and then some of them decided to battle and then they were defeated?
Yeah, no, that's the Mapilim. That's when they were given the Besora that they have to stay in the desert for 40 years after the Chet HaMeraglim.
Right.
And then there was a group of Mapilim that went up. We're going to go up anyways. And they went up and they were destroyed. And some say, so when they ask the question, when we read in the Haftorah on Shabbos Chol HaMoed Pesach, the Haftorah that we read is the dry bones. Yechezkel revives. He comes onto a field, he sees a field of dry bones, and he vivifies them, and they wake up, and there's Tchias HaMesim. And one of the reasons is because Pesach, Mashiach is coming, there's going to be Tchias HaMesim at that time, so that's why we read that Haftorah them. But they ask the questions, who are those dry bones? So there's a 5-way machlokas who they were, but one of the main shitas is it's these Mapilim that Ellen is referring to. But that doesn't fit here, where this is examples where HaKadosh Baruch Hu held back the Goyim not to attack the Jews.
Right.
There they attacked. Okay. Says the Musar Nevi'im, that which HaKadosh Baruch Hu dafka these places, even though Bnei Israel had other milchamos that they were victorious against their enemies. Why? So why other places aren't mentioned? Remember, Moshe Rabbeinu sends Yoshua to battle Amalek, and they defeat Amalek. They don't wipe them out, but they defeat them. But there was even a battle. The Amalek came out and battled with them. Here, the battle never was started. Hashem held back these Oivdei Kachavim from even starting a battle. That's the difference. Ki naflem charada, so much fear shlo yischilu lilachem in Israel. So this is a Yeshua that mamish happened from Hashem. Vayiru atzofim l'Shaul b'givat Binyamin, v'nei ha'amon namog vayel chalom. So Shaul, of course, has spies, and the ones that are checking what's going on, they see the Plishtim armies dissipating and becoming confused, and they're running away. So they tell this to Shaul. Pasuk Yud Zayin. Vayomer Shaul la'am asher ito. So he has 600 soldiers with him. Pikdu na ru'u mi alach me'imanu. So first of all, he's wondering, well, what started the Plishtim running away? So he says, well, is there any of our soldiers missing? So do a count. Vayifkedu v'hinei ein Yonatan v'nosei chela. So they realize that Yonatan and his armor bearer are missing. So Vayomer Shaul la'Achia. So Achia is the Kohen Gadol. Shaul wants to know, should he now attack the Plishtim? Hagisha Aron ha'Elokim. Bring forth the Aron. Ki haya Aron Elokim bayamahu uvnei Yisrael. Now, what Aron is this? Isn't the Aron, remember the Aron either it was not in the city of Nov, because we said it was in the city of the Edomite, until David HaMelech took it back. So what Aron is here? So first of all, and why did he want to consult the Urim V'Tumim? So the Iyei Hayam brings that this wonder that the Plishtim are now running away, and that Yonatan and his armor bearer by themselves could have caused out all that, was a suffix for Shmuel, for Shaul, Ulai Oseh Hashem Lahem Az Nes. So he recognized, well, Hashem may be doing a nes for us. O Efshar Shem Yitzlichu Larog Plishti Echad V'Chadome, B'Shem Plishtim Ba Machshav Aleim LeMilchama. Or maybe Yonatan just killed a few people, and now the Plishtim are gathering to fight us. So Shaul tells Achia to bring forth the Aron, which the way Rashi learns is Urim V'Tumim. V'ratzali drosh b'Urim V'Tumim. Why are the Plishtim running away? Is this because of Yonatan? And should he arise against Plishtim and start the battle? So I want to read the Malbim. From the time that Mishkan Shiloh was destroyed, there was no fixed place for the Aron. Wherever Bnei Israel went, where they gathered, so the Aron would be there. If you remember when we had Shmuel told people, let's come to Gilgal and we're going to renew the Melucha, they brought the Aron there. It says that they brought the Aron there as well. The Das Soifrim says that Givat Binyamin v'Kiryat Ya'arim. Remember, the Aron was deposited in after it was in Beit Shemesh, right? Remember, and there was a great plague there. They brought it to Kiryat Ya'arim, and geographically, Givat Binyamin and Kiryat Ya'arim are very close to each other. It's near Yerushalayim, and as I showed you in the map, the Plishtim are near there. So they took the Aron from the house of Avinadav, who was the one that was watching it over it, like we said before. and they didn't want it to fall in the hands of the Plishtim again. Some say that he brought the Aron because the Urim V'Tumim would not work without the presence of the Aron. Now, in the Yerushalmi, Masechta Sota, Tani Rav Yehuda ben Lakish, Shnei Aronos Hayu Malchim in Yisrael b'Midbar. First of all, there were two in the Midbar. Klal Yisrael had two Aronos. Echad Shaisa Torah Nesunabo, ve'echad Shayu Shivrei Luchos Monachim B'Sochel. We've known this. One had the regular luchos, one had the broken luchos. Zeh Shaita Torah Nesuna B'Sochel Yanosim Bo'ol Moed. The one with the Torah was in the Mishkan. That's why it says, Varon Bris Hashem u'Moshe lo mashu mikerva machaneh. And the Shivrei Lochos, Haya Nichnas v'Yotzim, that they go out and battle with them. V'Rabbanan Omri Echad Haya u'Pamachas Yotza. In the Yerushalmi, it says the Rabbanan argue with Rav Yehuda ben Lakish and say there was only one Aron. And the Luchos were, remember, kept to the side of it in the same Aron. And only went out once, Bimei Eli Nishba. It was taken captive by the Plishtim only that one time. And then they bring psukim to support the two study. The Pnei Moshe says that this Aron had the Choshen, the Ephod, and the Urim V'Tumim in it. When they needed to ask, and the Kohen Gadol had to wear the 8 begadim, including the tzitz. And so you see as Machlokes HaMeforshim exactly which Aron are being used. We already went through the halachos of how they asked the Urim V'Tumim. He had to stand in front of it, and we went through when we learned it before in Yoshua, how the procedure of the Aron went. Pasuk Yud Tes. Vahi adiber Shaul HaKohen, v'ha'emona sheb'machna b'lishtim v'yelech haloch v'rav. So as Shaul is speaking to the Kohen Gadol, and there was this tumult going on in the Machne Plishtim, getting louder and louder. So Shaul had second thoughts. He said, withdraw your hand. Vayomer Shaul al Kohen es sof yadecha. You know what? We don't have time to ask from the Urim V'Tumim. We have to act. It's time to act. It's not time to ask questions. So, because when he saw that the Plishtim were running away, so significantly, and there was confusion, he says it was very clear that now's the time to attack, and we don't have to ask for the Urim V'Tumim anymore. That's how the Metzudas learn. However, the Medrash Shmuel finds fault in Shaul HaMelech. He should have waited to hear what Hashem wanted him to do. It's another reason, says the Abarbanel, like Bernie was pointing out, his impetuousness. He didn't have zitzfleisch. He didn't have patience to wait. The same way that he disobeyed Shmuel. When Shmuel told him to wait for him, here he showed his impatience as well in terms of not waiting and asking from the Urim V'Tumim. Pasuk Chaf. Vayizorik Shaul v'cholam asher ito vayavod ad milchama. He called out to the people to come to do battle. B'nei aytacher v'ish b're'eyu muhum agdola ma'od. And the Plishtim were killing each other. There was so much chaos. They didn't know what was going on. Some ran. Some tried to stop them from running. And they started fighting each other. It means among the Plishtim, the panic was so great that they were killing each other with their own swords. And then v'ha'ivrim, hayula plishtim kesmol shilshom. Remember, these were the Jews who were part of them and were running away now. They began to join Shaul and the Jewish people to battle the Plishtim as well. Remember in last week's parak, we talked about the people who were hiding. They all came out. And they chased after the Plishtim as well. And the Pasuk Chav Gimel, Vayosha Hashem Vayomu et Yisrael. Hashem saved Klal Yisrael. Milchama avra et Beit Aven. The battle went all the way up to Beit Aven. I'm going to stop on Chav Daled because it begins a new part of the parak, which I think is a good place to stop. Shaul HaMelech is going to give a command to the people in terms of, he thinks right now they shouldn't be eating or drinking. It's like part, we'll see what that was all about. Is that about kindness? Because they need to daven. And then he's going to curse anybody who does eat. We're going to see who ends up eating and what happens after that. We pretty much, the pasuk has 50 psukim. So I think we basically learned half of the pasuk, half of the parak. And I think it sets the tone for what's coming next week. Next week we'll learn on Sunday the same time, 8 o'clock as always. Any questions, comments, ha'aros?
Why, if Yonatan was given another A in his name, right after that, though, it again calls him just Yonatan.
Right. Okay. It's not going to be every time but that's the first time that he was called with the extra hay. And the Meforshim explained because it happens now when that special ruach that infused him, so that extra hay is given to him then. But he's going to be called back and forth, Yonatan and sometimes Yonatan.